We drove up the winding mountain road just before sunset, the tires crunching over old gravel. The pines loomed like silent sentinels on either side. I hadn't been to Whisper Hollow since I was a child. Now I was returning alone. The forest hadn't changed. Still dense, still dark, still listening. I inherited the cabin after my aunt died. No will, just a letter. Her handwriting shaky and erratic. Don't stay past dusk. Don't follow the sounds. If you hear your name, don't answer. And never, ever enter the clearing. I thought it was a joke, a product of her slow descent into dementia. But by the second night, I wasn't so sure. The cabin was exactly as I remembered, crooked, musty, yet oddly comforting. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked, lit a fire, and sat on the porch as the wind rustled the trees. That's when I heard it, my name. Soft, drifting through the woods. Mara. I froze. It came again, farther off this time. Mara. I told myself it was the wind. I locked the doors and went to bed. But I didn't sleep. By the third day, things were wrong. Birdsong vanished. The woods were too still. And I began finding symbols etched into the bark. Circles, slashes, crude stick figures. Some fresh, some old and scarred deep. I took a picture of one and texted my friend Ava. Witchy much? She replied. Probably some hiker playing Blair Witch. Chill. But I wasn't chilled. Not when I stepped outside that evening and saw my footprints in the dirt, leading into the woods. I hadn't been out all day. That night, the whispering came back. Not just my name now, but words. She knows. She sees you. She waits. They came from different directions, weaving between trees, circling the cabin. I shut all the windows. But when I passed the mirror in the hall, I caught something, just behind me. A figure, watching. But when I turned, nothing was there. I found the clearing on the 5th day. Not on purpose. I was trying to leave. I packed my things, got in the car, but the road kept turning in on itself. I drove 20 minutes in one direction, only to arrive back at the cabin. The forest had folded around me, so I ran. Through the trees, through thorn and branch, until I broke into it. The clearing. Perfectly round. Too perfect. In its center was a ring of stones, charred at the edges. And in the middle, a tree. Black. Split down the middle, like it had been struck by lightning. At its base, a mirror. Old, cracked. Just standing there, reflecting the sky. When I looked into it, I saw myself. But I wasn't alone. That night, I dreamed of her. The woman in the mirror, pale, with eyes too dark, too deep. She wore my face like a mask. But it was off. Too smooth, too still. She whispered, "You came back. Now you'll stay." I woke up on the cabin floor, dirt under my nails. My feet were muddy. The door was open. I'd gone back to the clearing in my sleep. The final night, I set up my phone to record. I wanted proof of the whispers, of the figure I kept seeing just past the trees. The footage showed me sleeping. Then, at 3:12 a.m., I sat up, walked to the mirror in the hall, stared at it, and in the reflection, I smiled. But I hadn't moved. I tried to smash the mirror. It wouldn't break. I screamed, cried, ran through the woods with a flashlight until I collapsed. The trees closed in. The shadows whispered. Something brushed my shoulder, and I heard her voice. We trade places, you and I. You walk free. I watch. But now, I'm done watching. I woke up back in the clearing. The sun rising. The mirror gone. But in the cabin window, I saw her, watching me from inside. And now I'm still here, somewhere beyond the trees. The road doesn't work. Maps don't help. Phones die after a single call. No one believes me. But if you ever hear someone calling your name from the woods, don't follow. Because if she sees you, she remembers. And she needs a face to wear. The lake remembers. We used to come here every summer. The old cabin by the lake. My mother, my father, and me. That was before everything broke. Before the accident. Before the silence. I hadn't been back in years. Not since 1985. But in the summer of 1991, after the funeral, something in me needed to return. I told people I wanted solitude, fresh air, healing. But if I'm being honest, I think I came back looking for something, or someone. The lake was exactly as I remembered it. Still dark, almost too perfect, like glass waiting to shatter. The cabin hadn't changed much either. The wood was warped from years of rain, the windows cloudy with dust, and the porch creaked like it remembered my footsteps. I unlocked the door, walked inside, and the air hit me, cold, like no one had breathed here in decades. I set my bags down and lit the fireplace. The shadows danced around the room, and I told myself it was just a house, just a lake, just memories. I was wrong. The first night was dreamless. The second, I heard water dripping, but it wasn't raining. I walked out to the porch around 2 a.m., flashlight in hand, and scanned the woods. Stillness. Then a splash. Software measured. Something had entered the lake, or come out of it. When I turned back toward the cabin, there were footprints on the porch. Wet ones. Not mine. In the morning, I found the old photo albums. One in particular caught my eye. A picture of me at 9 years old, standing by the lake with my cousin Sarah. I hadn't thought about her in years. She drowned that summer. Disappeared while we were swimming. No one found her body. They told me I imagined the scream. That she slipped that the current pulled her under. But I remember what I saw. Something pulled her. On the third night, I woke to a sound like breathing. Not mine. I sat up, listened. The bedroom window faced the lake. In the moonlight, I saw it. Something standing just at the edge of the water. Too tall. Too thin. Still. I blinked, and it was gone. But the next morning, there were handprints on the glass. Small. Wet. As if from the inside I stopped sleeping. Started walking the perimeter of the lake during the day. I found strange things. Twisted stick figures hanging from trees. Small piles of stones arranged in circles. And once, a child's shoe, half buried in the mud. It was the same kind Sarah wore. I wanted to call someone. To leave. But I couldn't. The lake didn't want me to. One afternoon, I fell asleep on the porch. When I woke, the sun had set, and there was a girl standing at the edge of the dock. She looked like Sarah. Same hair, same dress, but she turned her head in that slow, unnatural way. And when she looked at me, her eyes were solid black. Then she stepped backward into the water and vanished beneath the surface. I found her diary under the floorboards the next day. Sarah's handwriting, childish but frantic near the end. It comes when no one's looking. It talks to me from the lake. It says I have to stay. If I leave, someone else has to take my place. I think it picked her. The last entry was dated July 12th, 1985, the day before she drowned. I tried to burn the diary. It wouldn't catch. No matter how much lighter fluid I poured, the pages stayed damp, almost breathing. That night, the lake rose. I don't know how else to describe it. It wasn't rain. The water just swelled, inching closer to the cabin. By morning, the dock was submerged, and the footprints returned. This time, leading from the water to my bed. I started dreaming again. In the dreams, I was under the water, but I could breathe. Sarah was there, her skin pale and hair drifting like seaweed. She smiled. "You're next," she whispered. And something cold curled around my ankle. I packed my things, threw everything in the trunk. But when I turned the key, the engine sputtered and died. I tried again. Nothing. And then I saw it in the mirror. A figure standing behind the car. Long black hair covering its face. One arm raised in a slow, dripping wave. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. That night, I sat by the fireplace and waited. I didn't sleep. Didn't blink. At 3:03 a.m., the cabin door creaked open, but no one stepped inside. Just the sound of water dripping onto the floorboards. I followed the trail back to the lake, and there she was, Sarah, waiting, smiling. She didn't speak, but something moved in the water behind her. A shape, large, shifting, watching. And then I understood. She wasn't alone. I should have drowned that day in 1985. It chose her instead. and now it wants to fix the mistake. I hear it in the walls, in the trees, in my own reflection. The lake remembers, and it doesn't forget its debt.
It wasn't my brother who came back. We buried Liam on a Thursday morning. It rained the entire day, like the sky itself was grieving. My parents stood silent by the closed casket. The accident had been brutal. They said his body was too damaged to view. But I didn't understand. Liam was only 19. Strong, bright. The kind of person who lit up any room. But that day, everything felt wrong. The casket was too light. The air too cold. And when the priest spoke Liam's name, it echoed like it didn't belong to anyone anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at his empty bed across the room. He used to snore, kick the covers, talk in his sleep. But now, just silence. At 3:07 a.m., I heard a knock at the door. 3 knocks. Slow, heavy. I froze. Then came another knock, and another. By the time I got downstairs, my mom was already at the door, robe wrapped tight around her, eyes wide and terrified. Through the peephole, we saw someone standing in the rain, soaked, still, barefoot. It was Liam. We opened the door. We had to. And he stepped inside without saying a word. His clothes were damp and wrinkled, like they'd been underground. His skin was pale, lips slightly blue, and his eyes, they didn't move quite right. They stared past us, like he was seeing something we couldn't. My dad hugged him tight, whispering, "My boy, my boy." Liam didn't hug back. He only whispered, "They buried me wrong." Then walked upstairs and lay on his bed, eyes open, silent. For the next few days, we tried to explain it. Shock, amnesia, PTSD. But he didn't act like Liam. He never ate, never used his phone, never even looked at us unless we spoke to him directly. Sometimes, we'd catch him talking to himself, low and fast, in the attic. One night, I pressed my ear to the door. I heard his voice, and another one, darker and distant, like something was whispering through him. Then he said, "She knows I'm not him. We have to take her next." The floor creaked behind me. He was standing there, smiling. I tried to tell my parents. They got angry, said I was traumatized, accused me of being cruel. But I wasn't imagining things. One night, I noticed something under Liam's bed. A trail of dirt, tiny clumps, like someone had crawled up from the ground. And then I remembered. We never opened the casket. I went to the cemetery, alone. It was midnight. The gate was chained, but I slipped through a hole in the fence. I found Liam's grave. The headstone looked normal, but the earth beneath was wrong. Cracked, scorched, like it had been struck by lightning. I scraped at the dirt with my hands until I saw it. Scratches on the inside of the coffin lid. Long, deep, like he'd tried to claw his way out. But what came back wasn't him. Back home, things got worse. I started waking up with bruises. Cold air filled my room, even with the windows shut. One morning, I found Liam standing over me while I slept, just watching, smiling. He didn't move when I woke up, just whispered, "You're next." The final night, I set up my phone to record while I slept. The footage showed me, sound asleep. But in the mirror across the room, my reflection was standing, staring directly at the camera, smiling, not blinking. And Liam? He wasn't in bed anymore. Only a trail of black footprints leading to my closet. I ran away the next morning, took a bus to a friend's house 3 hours away. But it didn't matter. Last night, I got a message from an unknown number. It just said, "You left your door open." I turned slowly, and in the reflection of the TV screen, muted, glossy, dim, I saw Liam, grinning, standing behind me. He's still out there, wearing my brother's face, pretending to be him, and no one believes me. But every time I see a mirror, I see him. And I wonder how long before he gets tired of pretending and comes for me to finish what they started.
The staircase that wasn't there. It all began when Sophia returned to her old school to pick up her younger brother after a parent-teacher conference. The building was the same as it had been 10 years ago. Gray, worn down, with endless corridors and squeaky floors. As she waited near the old staircase that led to the 3rd floor, she suddenly remembered something odd. That staircase never went up to the 3rd floor. There wasn't even a 3rd floor. And yet, here it was, a narrow, unfamiliar staircase spiraling upward into darkness, where only a blank ceiling should have been. Curious and uneasy, Sophia began to climb. Each step creaked louder than the last. She counted 10, 15, 20, but no end in sight. The air grew colder. The light behind her faded. And then she heard footsteps above. Sophia reached a landing. It was a hallway that shouldn't exist. Dusty, dim, and lined with locked classroom doors. Everything was silent, but she felt watched. The wallpaper peeled like dead skin. The only open door was at the very end. On it was written in red letters, Room 313, a number that never existed at this school. Inside, desks were overturned. Papers were scattered on the floor, yellowed and damp. And in the center, a tall mirror cracked across the middle. Sophia stepped closer. Her reflection didn't move. It stared back, smiling. Then it blinked. Sophia turned to run, but the hallway had changed. There were no doors now, just walls, and a staircase leading further up. Sophia climbed the second staircase, breath quick and heart pounding. This flight was longer, much longer. She lost track of time. The air felt wrong, thin, pressing in on her lungs. She came to a second landing, a small room empty except for a chair and someone sitting in it. A girl. Sophia's breath caught. The girl looked just like her. Identical. But her eyes were hollow, her skin pale as wax. "I took your place," the girl whispered. "And now, you'll stay." Sophia tried to scream, but no sound came. The girl stood, took Sophia's hand. The room dissolved into blackness. When Sophia's brother ran to find her, the old staircase was gone. There was no third floor. There never had been. But in an old class photo found years later, in the dusty archives of the school, there were two girls with Sophia's face. Only one was smiling.